is Pamela Kuhn, and the curtain is up on Center Stage, the show about the arts and the artists behind their work. I have spoken to many artists on Center Stage who I have referred to as legends. But there are also those artists who thrill with another title, stupendous. My guest today is such a man. In fact, you have just heard his performance of the first movement of Beethoven's Hammerklavier Sonata at the opening of this show. Pianist Eduardus Halim walks into a room and captivates with an aquiline presence like a film star in the 1940s. All eyes are on him. He has a slightly wily sense of humor, with a smile that belies his brilliance as an artist. There is no arrogance, just a quiet recognition of his strength. His large hands and long fingers are always poised as if ready to play. It is reminiscent of a scenario where the late portrait photographer Josef Karsh might be featuring them in a study of working hands. The scene introduces us to the realm of music that we will hear from him. Eduardus Halim is a bold interpreter of late Romantic repertoire, thrilling his listeners with a pianistic force and stamina that is almost inhuman. Yet we are swept away with his ease and delivery. Eduardus is ethnic Chinese, though born in Indonesia. He was given a Muslim name. In his early years, he studied violin, piano, and Javanese dancing. Eventually moving to New York City, he carved a niche for himself with the bravura that my first title suggests, stupendous. Through that power, he impressed New York Times critic and author of The Great Pianists, Harold C. Schoenberg, who wrote to the legendary Vladimir Horowitz about the young man's extraordinary talent. David Duvall, the broadcaster and author, took Eduardus Halim to meet Horowitz. And what transpired was 40 lessons with the maestro at a time in Halim's life when he was most susceptible to engaging with the legend and absorbing his genius. In Schoenberg's biography, Horowitz, His Life and Music, he describes in detail the relationship between Halim and Horowitz in the chapter entitled Last Pupil. In fact, the relationship between Halim and Harold Schoenberg developed into a deep, lifelong connection. The author left his entire music library and Steinway piano to Eduardus Halim. Well, he has enjoyed a life of international concertizing, recordings, and is the holder of the Sasha Gorodnitsky Faculty Chair at NYU. His devotion to his students bears the hallmark of his loving personality as a profound mentor. Eduardus Halim, welcome to Center Stage. It is such an honor to have you.
Oh, thank you so much, Pam. What a generous introduction. I really loved it very much. Thank you.
When I think of you, and I have the advantage of knowing you fairly well, I think of generosity, Eduardus, in your personality.
Oh, that's yes. I think it's partly because maybe I'm a very open person in that sense, and then I like something very quickly, and whatever, and I liked whatever I love very much. I'll spend all my effort to make sure, there's a lot of investment in that. So I feel I like also another way also. I feel that all my life, I was always treated with great openness.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that that's a kind of generosity of spirit. I thought that my parents, my family had afforded me, and I think it makes me felt very secure. So, and partly because of that too, I noticed that I meet all my mentors. You mentioned Maestro Horowitz and Mr. Goronitsky's Sasha, and then Mr. Frikushny, Harold Schoenberg. They all were the most generous to me, with unreservedly generous to me. And so in that sense, I felt like it's only a sign of a degree of openness. I think that's very, very much part of who I am, I think.
I think
So
that's so lovely. It's a hallmark of your playing, but I think it's the legacy you're going to leave behind to your own students now.
correct, correct. I think it's a very interesting one. When you mentioned about a student in here, I think to give, when I say something, when I explain about music as such, there is no reservation in it. And I think that was something all music deservedly so. I think, despite of different style, I think that's to impart the fact that the generosity of your passion must be translated to the fingertips. And I think that takes a lot, and then that is also take a lot of practice. It's not just simply just one feel that way. It will transpire into the materializing in sound. But those are the kind of always willing to try. I think it makes the student felt very much at ease also, and they've also felt great beauty and hopes. I think that's the best way to sum up my sort of my approach to teaching, is that to make sure that they love it as much as I love it, and I try to impart it as much. And I think it takes a lot of encouragement and a lot of knowing how to probe them in such a way. And also, like, actually the same thing with me too. It doesn't come easy. Nothing comes easy. And you create, and the sense of it feels like it seems to be a lot of freedom in it. It's actually a lot of discipline behind it, a lot of
Right.
struggle, making a lot of mistakes, along the way. But I think that mistake is constantly part of honing the skill, honing the expressiveness, of the music. So I think that's important. I think to impart that. Yeah.
So beautifully said. Usually at the end of my interviews, I ask a question, something like, how would you describe your playing? How would you describe your career? And this time I'm going to ask it right at the beginning.
So, you know, that's a very, I would say it's a very a fantastic question and loaded question, because it's really, when one describe oneself, is not so easy. Sometimes I always other people describe what my work is usually, and to speak of my work sometimes I tend to be a little bit shying away from but however, having said that, though, I also see to sum up a few things, and what am I about, and looking at music. So it's more like perhaps the way my attitude towards working, and why I am doing what I am doing. I think that's maybe an important part of explaining who I am. And I think piano, for instance, it's really, it's a way for me to speak. It's through the piano. And when I was given the opportunity to study piano in Indonesia, and of course, naturally, people said, "Oh, the boy is very talented." Yes, but but I think there's something about piano that is, it felt like completely natural to me, and I feel like this other instrument. I mean, I learned violin, for instance, not too much to any particular musical, yes, but not very adaptable to me, for instance. But piano is different, and then and I grew to love the piano as an instrument. So it's not just merely just to be a good pianist, a fantastic pianist, or whatnot like that. But I think there's a kind of kinship about, I feel, about the actual feeling of sensation of what piano can give to me. It's extraordinary, and I'm still searching. I mean, not searching, I'm still honing it, getting better and better. And partly because it reminds me, the word of maestro used to tell me, the tragedy is that when one stop improving, and as an artist, which is, I think I take that to heart, because it's really very important. So each time there's sort of regimented way of practicing, of working each day, And I found it, it's profoundly important, I think, to, at least to me, the degree of ability to play the instrument, which is what we call so-called technical side, and then to constantly improve that side, the ability to be more natural. I think the better the music sounds. So that on that score, I found it fascinating. Every day I find it, when the chance, given the chance, when I'm not teaching, for instance, even doing the teaching side, I found that it's the most fascinating, that the technique of developing, and how my hand changed also over the years. Even after I worked with Maestro, Maestro was Mr. Horowitz was the last teacher I had, and granted that was in 1989. It's been many years. Still, the development from those teaching session, and also from what imparted by Fukushima and Gorodnitsky, it makes you constantly looking, searching for things. And they know it's partly because I have something to offer in the voice, and then to look for that voice, it's each day, it's always something, a discovery. And then I also find it also, I'm very fascinated with the fact that in order to create a piano is the singing instrument. To me, is the predominantly a singing instrument, and I think that goes a long way. I mean, all from the Russian school of teaching, and to many you can trace back to Liszt, to Chopin, even to Beethoven, even to Clementi, where the instrument is as a singing instrument. That it's actually Clementi spearheaded with the development of the what we know as today's modern instrument. So he was the father, literally, not so-called the Viennese pianist, not the Vienna, the Viennese piano, which is much lighter, and then this is much more tone, and then in fact Beethoven as well also was very much is like a descendant from Clementi in that sense, down to Liszt, down to all what today's is. And so in that sense, the ability for the piano to sing, and I think that would be the ultimate thing. So the technique was the greater the technique, the greater the music is, I think, not separated. On occasion, we would hear the center say, oh, it's such and such, is on technique, but no music. And I think that seems to be a little bit too simplistic statement. And it's not, there's no such a thing as is either they are not good musician. I think that's my take. So, but so in that sense, that to describe myself as something that I live for it, and I live for piano, and I found it greater and greater that I'm developing still. So in that sense, I would say I'm maybe the happiest, one of the happiest person, in the sense that I know what I want.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I felt like each time I work, and I'm being rewarded. Sometimes not so rewarded, but it's okay. It will come. It's always, yeah.
We are relieved to know that you actually are human, and
Oh, absolutely. To be a musician, you must be. So,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Eduardus, can I take you back just a little bit to your upbringing? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
gathering that you were a natural talent. You were a natural gifted musician. Am I right?
Yes, okay, so yes, I guess that's natural gifted, yet of course, like so many great musicians and so many other so-called in the serious business of being a musician, they are really, there's so many prodigies around. I mean, but I would say yes, in that sense, maybe uh, um yeah, I'm trying to always define what a talent is, and first of all, but I must also tell you this much, very, very much, to me, talent is a gift. So talent is a gift. So I neither disdainful nor I feel proud of it either. So I feel very blessed. Not so, but I'm saying I didn't feel it. It's not the most important things. But what I do with it, I think, by the amount of work and the understanding how to work to make that talent so serving, more deserving. I think that is the so in itself is almost, I didn't earn the talent. I mean, but it's the work I did. I was able to use my talent. I think
Of
that
course.
that to me, to me, which I'm happy with the fact that the understanding of work each time evolving and more and more and more. So yes, to say that there's a particular way, I remember when Mr. Schoenberg first time heard me too, and actually I'm sure, but that goes the same thing with maestros, and I think they get something musician wise, I think, and then to study it. I was harkening back to how I studied with Mr. Horowitz once when Mr. Dubal brought me there first time. I think he was gauging me. How am I? What is my reaction towards when he plays? What is the reaction
Ah,
to sonic to sonic experience? And whether how acutely I'm aware. I think he's sort of gauging that, not so much an how brilliant as a pianist, because I mean they're brilliant pianists that he met, and no one can be more brilliant than what he is capable of. I mean what he was capable of. So, but the fact is that I think he was looking for that side, which is I remember he played with for me the Schumann novelette, and I think it was one of the most extraordinary sound I heard. It was the most, I never heard it before. I've heard great pianists. I mean, wonderful pianists, but great pianists is a little bit too loosely said, because I think the closest one I heard was in that kind of realm of sound was in 1983 or so, when I heard Cherkassky's play before Carnegie was Shura Cherkassky played, and it was so beautifully, the sound, the
mm.
singing tone. But Mr. Horowitz is magician, and when I heard it, he played novelette, my heart was in my throat. I felt like there was like a big lump, I mean, it was to this day I still remember that kind of sense of and I could feel is the sensation. Everything's every fiber in my body was reacting to how. What I reacted was how beautifully he played, how intensely his voice was so poignant. His tone was speaking as if like he was caressing you with his sound.
Yes.
So it's extraordinary. And of course, we always, when we refer to Mr. Horowitz, always thinking, oh, he's such a brilliant superstars and a phenomenal devilish pianist. But I think it's just only a little bit on the side. It was just only the tool. But the most important one is the that kind of from the heart, and
Inner voice.
it's just extra. That's right. There's passion, there's affection, there is everything put together. So that was to me the sense of what I aspire to be, and to be able to say what you want to say and you be able to touch the person who hears you. I think that would be the ultimate. So to me, that's also why when you mentioned about naturally gifted, maybe he was also, he found a lot of kinship in that sense.
Yes.
What he found, otherwise he would not have offered me to study with him. I think that I think, yes, it is the talent side, but also partly because in greater part because of the amount of work and understanding what was imparted to me, and by constantly working. So in that sense, yeah, I'm considered myself absolutely lucky in that sense. Yeah,
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 indeed.
yeah,
You have often been compared to Shura Cherkassky and Horowitz. I mean, this kinship you've mentioned more than once now. I love that word
yes,
because it insinuates something much deeper than just training with or being aligned with. It's actually almost like a melding of souls in a way. I mean,
yes.
do you feel that yourself? And did you feel that with your work with Horowitz?
Of course, yeah. I think it's also, I must say, to put it in the context as well, and the reason why Mr. Schoenberg was also in many ways, I think he actually wrote it in the magazine, New York Times magazine, when he heard it the first time. I was in Australia, and then he was one of the judge, and he approached me afterwards. He said, oh, young man, uh, Schumann Davids Bündler Tanz. It was very simple and beautiful. And then, so he wrote it as such. And then he was saying that, mentioned in passing that you are a romantic. So which is the word romantic. So it's actually at the time I sort of didn't. I don't have any gauge in particular, because the word romantic pianist is not like a romance in a sense, but it was an era where they referred to the golden age of pianism, where individuality is of utmost importance. I think you can hear Cortot, you can hear Hoffman played, and each one, Friedman, Ignaz Friedman, or even Mosevich, and you would hear people like that, like Shura. It's so different. They're just different, because there's a sense of freedom of speaking that feels free, but and yet it was sometimes misunderstood as being all over the place. Some chaotic is the word they tend to say. In fact, Shura too. I remember the Times at the time, didn't always not very was not very supportive of him in what he said. He thinks that if I read it correctly, the critics felt that it was a little bit all over the place. I mean, chaotic is the word, or
a little unbridled.
Yeah. But I think it was just simply a concept that was misunderstood, because there's a so-called modern pianism, which is everything much more objective. Tend to be what we call the Urtexians in the approach. And then I must say, in many ways, it's very dull. It's really dull. I'm sorry, no color. Just as the way it is. I mean, I don't.
This is so honest.
Yeah, because it feels that you are constantly being educated. It doesn't feel like you're being told the stories. You're being like lectured, and sometimes. So, but totally. And so when I came to Mr. Horowitz, I think that when Mr. Schoenberg found like in Mr. Horowitz the same, he said, there's something about that which is we call it. So then I think the comparison in that sense was is that kind of freedom, but to me I have not, I change all the time, I change, but the core of my belief in the expressiveness is what I want to speak. It's all derived the same thing. It hasn't changed since I was a child. It has not changed, but I must tell you this also. But I was glad to see. I know that you're a wonderful singer and then a wonderful pedagogue and we all, our dear friend Tony Manoli, who I grew up with at Juilliard, also was a person who I always listened to his opinion all the time, and singer is the most important for a pianist. Is the most important to any musician. It's singing. And Mr. Horowitz said the same thing. Verkusny said the same thing, but Mr. Horowitz was very adamant that your teacher is singers. And then it's funny. I read it. Of course, singing to me, I listened to the more and more to the greatest singer, and it make a big difference. And I saw in Chopin. And Chopin also wrote, it was known to say, you must listen to singer, and Chopin said, the singer by the name Rubinis and Pasta. I'm sorry, it's written by Chopin. And then in fact, the type of pianism, it's all pianistically, all oriented towards singing, is all the soprano line. And so the technique also changed when you. That's how Mr. Horowitz opened up a greatly my view on pianism, and then from then on, it just spread. And but I must tell you this also: if I took it up in myself, when I knew Mr. Horowitz, then I already played a number of majority of the Chopin etudes, and for instance, just to give it and then after that I learned all of them, and then subsequently I also learned all the transcendental etudes, and to me it was not so. It's not like I'm masochistic or sadistic, trying to, but it's not. I found it incredibly fascinating and helpful, because in Chopin, the complicated passages, its usage by the weaker finger. So that what Mr. Horowitz referred to as a soprano finger.
Oh my gosh.
It's 4/5 is Halim, that's soprano finger. So because he was teaching me how to play the Schubert the Schubert G flat major impromptu.
Oh.
And D90, that's one of the hardest one I learned.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I adore it.
And it's I played that the first time I brought it to Mr. Horowitz. I still remember this. I said, your soprano's finger not developed. So I said, but maestro, it's so difficult. You have to play one the line here. The singing should sound like a great singer, but then the inside should be completely in the background, but very evenly controlled. And so there's a kind of freedom in it, in between control and lines, and then how the inflection of voices. And so that I learned greatly. Then I realized that I said I lack the agilities and then independence of the soprano. That's why I went through this one. I still do it every day. I try to not always at some time period of to work on the Chopin. And it's almost like some people say, Bach well-tempered clavier.
Yes.
To me, Chopin and Liszt.
I love that.
Yeah. And also in many ways, thinking about it, I always tell my student, I tell my student, you master those. At least don't even just say not the word mastering, but just to learn it, and then constantly be with you and you constantly honing it. You really literally having Chopin and Liszt being your teacher as well.
When I look at your hands, they're almost artistically beautiful. I mean, what is it about your fingers? First of all, they are so long. They look like they're triple jointed. You look like you have such facility and strength, and you do in your playing. I mean,
yes.
What is your relationship with your hands? I mean, let me ask that.
Yeah. So it has to do also with the way the understanding and how articulation is done. So, and then fortunately for me, I mean, I come to understanding more and more that the fact that each joint of our arm and to all the way down to the hand, and it's comprised of all joints. So the joints must be flexible in so many different ways, and then to play piano also, this is also I really discovering more and more. The more color one wants, the more differently one plays, and if it is I want to have a sustained sostenuto and cantabile, for instance, my singing, I would use a lot more flatter tip. And so this joint, this first joint here, is actually collapsing, and then it's unorthodox because if in beginning of piano playing, everything has to be curve, how we were
Yes.
taught, and then all is like absolute like this and played very digit wise. But also that's its own drawback. I mean, I didn't like the sound of having this pointed and clarity. So the idea was that because it makes legato doesn't sound so legato, no matter even one can connect. But what happened is that one can play it connected, but it doesn't work like that. It's what between the notes is the mystery of that's timing, and then so then if timing like that, then I come to a conclusion as well. So that sometimes if you're pointed and then you're flexing, and also the rubato can be done even through fingers. So that therefore I don't play just simply using the wrist has to be flexible, because the wrist is, after all, is the soul of a pianist, And who said that? It's Chopin said it's the soul of pianist, but to me, the wrist of a pianist is the vocal cord of a singer, and it is very important because, and then the flexibility of all the joints here, but some passage, some sound needs very much like this. Like, so I play sometimes even very close like this, because you can have, we call it joperle, like pearl-like sound in the passage. And then, of course, all this is in order to create colors. But colors is description of describing myriad of emotions. And then the fascinating part about, that's why I found it piano as an instrument is the greatest instrument. Because not only that, we have the foot, we have the pedal. Oh no, that is separate. Oh, that is the greatest things. That's another universe in itself. Because it is incredible. Pedal is the greatest asset for a pianist. So sometimes we are taught, to clear, harmonic has to be clean or clear, oh, it's just too much disturbing, not like, too saturated or too mixed up. But when I went to Mr. Horowitz said, Halim, you must mix harmony. Is the more you mix harmony, is the limit is there's no limit.
Right.
Because when we sing legatos, it's actually a blended of harmonic in singing and coming. But for piano, it's a hammer that hitting the string.
Yes.
That's another realm. So sometimes I still remember that I'm getting better and better and better at it, so which is I'm very happy. And the next thing was, which is also I found it. So I'm talking about from the finger.
Yes.
It all affect the finger. The foot affect how my finger works. So I decided, if I phrase beautiful phrase with my finger, with my wrist, with my arm, with my not, depending on what the phrase is, whatnot, my pedal, my foot must act as independent as the way my finger independent. And then I also learned greatly the left pedal, the una corda. I think that's it's another art in itself that I experimenting all the time. So finally, I come to a conclusion that when we put the left pedal, a lot of time it was told that you put left pedal, just a one-shot deal, and you lift up, and then depending what it is. But it's actually, I don't do that. I put left pedal, the same thing where I put my right pedal, which is the reason why the hammer shifted from 3-string to 2-string una corda. But then if in between the shifting, the felt in between the string create a different sound. And every time you pull down and push down your left pedal, it can create different overtone, different color, which is unheard. Which you just simply put it down, it's a pity. It's a limitation. So in other words, there is no limitation to what the instrument can do. It's just how much fantasy you want to have. But all in all, it's nothing else but because of singing. And the greatest, the vocal is is actually, and also in here, another most important thing, all based like this, the technique is based on legatos. Legato is the hardest one to achieve, I think, even for a singer too. Legato is an expressiveness. It's not just merely connecting the note, but it's this desire of, when you say legato, I mean legatissimo in Chopin, it's a Chopin said it's almost con anima with something about it. So it's remarkable. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you've just hit on something that's I'm very fond about, and talking about the space between the notes, the energy between the notes. And I always feel that is the key to either singing or playing legato. And it's almost like a little mysterious world in between, and you
Yeah.
can make of it what you want. And with your own technical ability, of course, that can change. And you're actually blowing my mind right now with all this finesse about pedaling. I mean, really, Eduardus, I mean, that you're describing a whole other world, and you're using the word magical. It's so true.
Yes, it's very true. Absolutely. And the a lot being asked actually when I was working with Mr. Maestro, and some colleague of mine will come say, Eduardus, show me what did Mr. Harvest do? What did he do? Everyone wants to know.
Of course they do.
But I knew what I knew then, so it's not but so I could only just tell them as much as I know, but I gladly share because but it was not, but it seems like what he gave me is like it was a seed
Yeah.
for future growth. But Mr. Horowitz, I even one time I asked, I said, I was so fascinated with his pedaling too, because I hear the voice, so I look down at the pedal, at his pedal. Finally, what Maestro said to me? I said, Halim, stop looking at my foot. Say, just use your ear. Which is true. Just use your hearing, because there's nothing to see. It's only like a 1.5 inch maybe between the shoes, and he always wear church shoes, the church the English shoes.
Yes.
Yeah. There's nothing dark there down there.
So he had a good sense of humor. We can determine that.
Oh, he is the funniest. He's one of the Mr. Horowitz is one of the, people. It's hard to imagine somebody with that the greatest musician, I think, and the greatest personality, and yet there's something personable, something easygoing, and because I think it's partly because he was just generous. He is. Of course, I knew him much later on. I must tell you the stories. So this is we are on this. You feel free to do anything you like. You can add them on. But so this is how amusing he was. And I would go to Maestro in the beginning. Said I remember there was a period when just in the beginning, around 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from Tom Frost. Tom Frost was his producer at Sony at the time, and so he called me, said, Eduardus, Maestro, this is Tom Frost. Yes, I was in my 75th Street apartment. I said, oh yes. He said, oh, I just want to let you know that Maestro wished to devote 1 year of his life to teach you. And then just like I said, what? I was absolutely beyond cloud nine. I mean, it was a sense of pride, the fact that and there's a sense of gratitude, of feeling, my God, can you imagine the other way if he says that I don't want to see you anymore? I mean, I was prepared for that, but Tom Frost. So when he came, when he came to say, I like you to be my student. I went, and first thing, Mr. Maestro said, I said, well, I'm very easy to play for. Halim, everything above my waist, all very good. Below my waist, not so good. I think because there was too many books written in how crazy the previous whatnot students and experience, and how volatile, how crazy the whole thing. So I think he was I could not still figure out, but he was trying to put my mind at ease.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
Yes. Yes.
But everything about the ways is all good. So,
Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. I mean,
but so
it just got real. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. But the thing is that he always it's such a he said it with such one time I brought the Chopin Chant Polonaise of Chopin as a list arrangement, and my maiden's wish, and I think that's what's about, and then and I played, just learn it. He wanted to put for recording, is it, so I played it, and then so Judy was with me in
Your
the lesson,
wife.
and yes, one day I also was always at the lesson as well, so listening. So I said, I turned around to Maestro, I said, how is it? And then to which he turned around to Judy, looked at Judy, said, poor wife. I said, Maestro, that was his comment. I said, oh, why did you say that? I said, Maestro. I says, well, is that how you treat Judy? The way you treat the Chopin? So,
Okay. Fair is fair.
Yes, there's the section. So to which the second thing is that, where's the passion? So then go out of your way trying to be very passionate, even when it's completely out of place. Doesn't matter. You fight for it.
That is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's absolutely, he picks and chooses, and yet he did it not in the conventional way, this, but there was a sense of that's how we are as human beings, we feel, we talk, we banter, beautiful things as being, and that's all good quality, not so-called a serious Kapellmeister approach, and music. So it's not that way at all. So so the lesson becoming a lot more, and a lot of more alive. Yeah.
What I'm struck by is the fact that Tom Frost came to you and said the maestro wants to devote 1 year of his life to you. How humbling. How absolutely humbling. I mean, and how easy it could have been for you to have been overwhelmed by that.
That's right.
It doesn't sound to me as if you were. I mean, for many, the first lesson with someone like Horowitz must be just unimaginable.
Yeah, it was in, of course, in the beginning when Dubal brought me there, 2 weeks prior to that. I mean, it was a lot of pressure, but and Mr. Schomburg was very worried already. He said, Eduardus, I'm coming with you. I said, no. Mr. Schomburg, it's fine. It's fine. I will report to you. And then to which, but Maestro was the first thing that he said to me before I played, said, I'm a very good pianist. I understand pianists. So don't worry. Play anything you want. Play the way, whichever you like. I'm very good pianist. I understand. So
I adore that. Oh my God.
Yeah. And it was kind of, and then, I must say that Maestro knows that everyone's around him, are so in awe at him. So he never felt there was a kind of sort of vanity in it that he felt needs to be kept. It was, so he really was very generous. He wanted to share. He really wanted to give. I think in that sense, it was remarkable. In that kind of the sense of giving. But it's extraordinary when you said, it must have been really nerve-wracking to work with him. And maybe had I known what kind of legendary reputation was, I would have been more petrified. But I didn't. Sometimes ignorance has its own privilege.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it does.
Yes.
And how old were you then, Eduardus?
I was 27. And I was 27, and partly also is very strange. It's a known. When Maestro wanted to, in 1983, actually, I was Maestro came to the Met. I think it's 82, 83 to the Metropolitan. And I didn't go to that concert because I remember this very well. and one of the assistant to Sasha Goronitsky's, I offered him saying, are you going to the D concert? And then it was mentioned as such, and then Sasha said, why? It's sort of not in a very positive way.
Yeah.
And so I asked, who is this pianist? And to which Barbara Gallo mentioned to me, oh, that's Vladimir Horowitz. So to which I didn't know who Vladimir Horowitz. I said, I'm not going. So I didn't go. And then the next day, my classmate come back and then told me, I said, I was at the Met listening to Maestro play it. It says it's just can't imagine the greatest things, the greatest experience for him. Then another very dear friend of mine, one of my closest friends as well, Tony knew him to a fantastic pianist as well, who is my colleague at Juilliard. He called me, said, Eduardus, I want you to hear this, and he put this on AT&T phone. Put a recording of Funerari of Liszt by Mr. Horowitz. I could not believe what is. I was so shaken by how incredibly demonic it was. I never heard it before. That sonority, even through the phone. So then I said, I caught Mr. Horowitz bug. And then it was just so I investigated everything, and the amount of that sonority that I don't know. It's not just loud. It's not loud.
Mm-hmm.
It is if it's describing a feeling of fanfare, it's describing a feeling of defiance,
Mm-hmm.
and sound. It's there. It's describing feeling of terror. The sound is there to serve it. And it's that kind of sound. I heard a lot of powerful pianists and just loud,
Exactly, but not necessarily saying anything. Yes,
the sonority sometimes doesn't say, but Mr. Horowitz is different. It's then that is. I said to myself, I want to know how he did that. So I was working on the Petrushka, and so I experimented in the practice room because maybe this way, maybe that way. I want to hear that sound because it's the devil I hear, not the loud I hear, but the devil I hear. And then so little by little, when I met Mr. Horowitz said, Eduardus, to play piano is very difficult. To play piano well is very difficult. To play piano is very easy, but to play piano well is difficult. And I said, yes, for sure. We all recognize it. And then he said, this really one of the ingredients to play to be a pianist is that you have to play chord well. You play chord well. So what does that mean? Because everyone plays chords.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big difference, because when you hear, you can voice every voice is in the chord and independently. So when you want to describe something and that power came, it's just it's the temperament.
Yes. And when that soprano finger is really working well, a chord takes on another color.
That's right. So it is fascinating. It's everything. It has to do with sheer temperament. I think that that kind of the devilish, and it is really the devil and an angel must be. The range, the greater the range, the tragedy of the temperament must be there. The sweetness, the temperament must be there. And the tenderness must be there. Otherwise, it's too, so bad.
I adore this. It's that space in between again, that is electricity. Now tell me this during this time, and this may be a redundant question because by nature you're a performer, so you are ambitious. But during that time, how ambitious were you really?
My ambition was remains to this day the same, in a sense that I want to be able to play the most beautifully in sound. And really, it's I said it's all encompassing, not just simply to play, lyrical. That's not what I meant. I meant that I wanted the ambition was that because I was always rewarded, with I was always rewarded in the sense that maybe the amount of work I put and the understanding was with all the help, all this great help coming my way. And I was able to explore greater and greater. And I realized that, piano is much richer and richer and richer. And so the ambition remains, but I feel I'm getting able to overcome all this and starting greater control. I think in that sense, yes. Oh, that is the ambition. If you're talking about external ambition, about saying, oh, wanting to play this and wanting to play that, no, to me it was just incidental. I mean, it really is not to say those are unimportant. Those are so important. But I said that it was not because I figured if I don't from within me, if I cannot say, then it's really pointless. It really is. And then the other is just merely a result of. It's not an aim. It's my aim is still getting more and more and more. Yeah, the instrument is
always learning.
Always learning.
Always learning. Oh, Eduardus, you are so inspiring. You are so inspiring. I just have to ask this. You know,
Yes,
you had this year devoted to you by this amazing maestro.
yes.
What was your final lesson with him like? What was the experience?
I remember it was actually also on my birthday.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, and so I remember this very well. And he was very excited about the last recording. And it was because all those pieces that he recorded for Sony, the last recording, and all of them he played it for me as well during the lessons. And
oh
then
my gosh.
because the average lesson we will go around 3-4 hours on average. And so we come and sit down, we spoke briefly, we say hi, we talk about politics of the day, and I would go to the piano, and then he would work, and then after that he would go to the piano and show me what he's working, and then how beautiful things he so the repertory that he did it for the last recording, and including actually the Tristan und Isolde,
Yes.
the Liebestod, which I recorded as well, also that in 1990, and he also taught me that one because he also recorded, and it's really quite extraordinary to think that would be his last performance, like the last recording is the
Mm,
Tristan, the unrecorded one. But then he was very excited actually about wanting to do more recordings. The project coming. He was talking about perhaps doing the Chopin second concertos. Maybe even he was thinking about Rachmaninoff first concertos. Sometime occasionally he would bring it up to me, and it was. So getting back to that particular day, I remember Judy and I were there and said, this is my birthday, and then so he he was very sweet. He took out an envelope and then said, this is to Eduardus, happy birthday, and he said, this is my social security. So he put in the envelope. He said, and he gave me cash, to take Judy out to dinner. I thought.
oh my gosh, this is not what I expected.
Oh, he was the greatest. Sometimes he would do this to me. Like, he would Halim, show me where your wallet. He would check my wallet. Want to see. Just I carry wallets. Try these and stuff like that. So then he just wanted to know. So finally, he gave me also a wallet. He said, oh, this one. This I gave it. So I have one still. I have a very beautiful wallet from Asprey, London, and. And inside he put his credit card slip still from it was from Piccolo Mondo. I think it's
Oh my
still
gosh.
yes,
Oh my
just
gosh.
for it, well, sort of giving all this and a drop hint here. It's a gift from him, just to make sure that so and it was, I thought it's very it's very very sweet. It's just very touching. My maestro cared very much, and then he would give me bow ties, and it's bow tie. And I remember there's a period also that I'm free to speak in such a way now. So I would also bring him bow ties, and so I would go to at that time it was when our student day was our favorite shop, Bergdorf Goodman.
Mhm.
It's a little bit over the top, but
Good taste. Good
I love
taste.
I love seeing beautiful things. So
Mhm.
and I saw this bow tie, but it's made by Charvet, a French shirt maker, which I love very much. The French and the English shirt maker. They're long lasting, and they're always traditional, still in the making and whatnot. So it's a very very beautiful quality, and it lasts a long time. So I brought Maestro a Charvet tie, but the Charvet was unusual tie. Is the bow tie? It's a bow tie, but it's not something you tie, but it's already set up and it's already kind of large center,
Yeah,
which is a way of looking at it, and not like a real butterfly.
of
So
course.
Maestro said, oh, Halim, I like it very much, but I like to tie it myself. So I returned it. I took another set from Turnbull
And
and
to
asked,
ask her. Mhm.
yes, and I bought a pair. One is the blue one for myself, and the red one for Maestro. This is a triangle, triangle, triangle. So and then so Maestro someday brought me up and Judy to his a third level where his bedroom and Madame's bedroom to show, he wanted to show me, show us, and then there was a picture of Sonia, and he showed me collection of bow tie. There was at least 600 of them hanging on all. So
Oh my gosh.
yes, it was fascinating, but it was also a very it was a very poignant moment for me, and
Yes.
it
Yes.
has the reason why he was sitting by on on his bed. He has a double bed, and very simple, and a lot of Russian icon, and a religious icon in the back, a few pieces, and then a window on the side, and then it was a bureau, and there was a picture of Sonia. Sonia was his daughter, and it was heartbreaking, and my sister said, look, Sonia, beautiful. That's my daughter. I said, yes. And then I said, of course, I know, what a tragedy it was, and etc. And that's to which my maestro said, Madame, to these days, every day, every morning, wake up in the morning, she would cry first, then would start the day and go down, and because of Sonia. So I mean, there was a kind of feeling of a mixture of so many things, and
Yes.
to me, it was painful. It was painful, and it was the vulnerable side of Maestro.
Yes.
Then it was almost towards the end of we were almost towards the end of the visits, of my lessons with him, and so when he finally passed away, it was, I think, a few months later, and I went to Frank Campbell funeral, and it was an open casket, and because Madame insists that he should be with Toscanini in burial together, and I and Judy saw there was the bow tie I gave, and the handkerchief is from Turnbull and Answer. Yeah, it was really quite extraordinary, in a sense that I was beyond touch. It was I didn't, of course, finally, it was Juliana Lopes, the wonderful assistant who really put Mr. Horowitz back together. It was the story of that Bernstein brought him back. No, Madame brought him back, and Bernstein appreciation in the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that is not necessarily correct. It was more like Juliana Lopes, the one who brought him back to life.
Okay.
And Juliana was telling me, said, oh, Maestro, we have to prepare. I said, and we, the time is come. You have to prepare. What would you like to wear for your last, for your funeral? Which is it's kind of not macabre, but I must say that you prepare. And then so to which and Maestro said he pointed out. So that Juliana told me that. I mean, to me, it gave me a sense of it really not it has a sense of feeling that this life is when you know somebody that close, you entrusted someone, and there's something that Mr. Horowitz gave so much, and maybe in return I give something in return as well. Not and it must be relation is always like that, and I think there was a kind of saying without saying, that was and so I in that sense I to me also, that of course that's one of the indelible memory in my mind, and with Judy's mind as well. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's a beautiful.
This is the most beautiful story, Eduardus, I think I've ever heard on my show.
Oh,
I'm totally overcome by just that. It was a message to you.
Yes,
A sharing
and,
of a legacy between the two of you, and
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's, of course, it was not. I felt like there was a kind of thing. So I always feel, life is not shabby at all for me. Meaning that my life. There's the people who believe in me and such that So for me, it's my responsibility as well. Not only just to share, but also on my own accord. I like to also continue, to understand more and more and more. And then it's remarkable, Pam, to hear that this this incredible pianism that I inherited in many ways, the knowledge. The knowledge, not necessarily the ability of mine had met up. It is not, that's not what I'm referring to. But looking back, it's actually very much is from the Chopin school. It's that's Chopin. Thankfully, we have a lot of correspondence, and how Chopin wrote, and so there's quite a lot of account from his students and people who knew him describe how he's teaching. Maestro's teaching the same. I can literally, I point out to so many different ways how Chopin and Maestro is basically what it says, is what it tells me. It's not like, they may be completely opposite personality, but in order to sing beautifully.
Yes.
That's the understanding of how the instrument is. Even today's modern instrument and the Chopin's piano, they're not that much different except in the sonorities. It's not. Some people say a lighter, okay, but the quality the same. So in that, the legacy of pianism is, I would like to constantly, the more I know, the more I can share. So
of course, and you do. And speaking of pianos, you're sitting in front of a beautiful piano right now on our Zoom broadcast.
Right.
Is this the Steinway that was given to you by Mr. Schoenberg?
No, Mr. Schoenberg's piano is downstairs. I have there's an A Steinway, and then Mr. Schoenberg, there's also quite a story to it, because that piano was picked by Leopold Godowski for his aunt, Anne Myers.
Oh my gosh.
Alice Myers. It was also a pianist in her own right. I think,
Yes.
and so Schoenberg inherited that piano from her. And so Schoenberg, because it was very important, Leopold Godowski is considered the Buddha of the piano.
Yes.
And Mr.
Buddha of the pianist. Yes.
It's the greatest. In fact, by the way, we're talking about this one, since we mentioned how I emphasize the importance of the Chopin etudes and whatnot. And Godowski wrote 48 or 48 Chopin etudes, or maybe close to 50 different etudes of Chopin etudes based on Chopin etudes, except all majority is devoted to the left hand. So if I played etude in third, and Godowski will write etude in third for the left hand. And so etude in chromatic, Godowski, that is left hand. So it is, I have been working at it too, because I love Godowski transcription, and I've worked since decades ago, but I found it fascinating. That's the reason I also found the greatest improvement coming from the left hand working on Godowski, and partly on the preface of Godowski's etude. He said, the left hand, and I'm paraphrasing, is that basically the thumb becoming your sopranos, because it's and the way the thumb move after learning Godowski is becoming so natural. And the good thing about the left hand is that left hand is like your second child. The first child suffer, second child suffer, because they learn what not to do.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I love that. I love that comparison.
In some ways, left hand has a natural affinity towards the movement, much more so than the right hand.
Wow.
Right, it's much more trained. So about this.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me about your collection of pianos, because I know you have several.
Yeah, I have one that was Mr. Schomburg's one. That's in from 1920. The A, which is considered one of the most beautiful era as well. I mean Steinway. This one is the D from 2005. I would say so 2006, maybe 2009, maybe around that period time. And also this is also one of the great Steinway. American Steinway. It's unrivaled. I love the Hamburg. Certainly, it's a great instrument too, but American Steinway, unrivaled. It's partly the reason why you can sculpt your tone in the American. Yeah, Hamburg is just absolutely gorgeous and whatnot. But American, you can speak from the more. I can imagine if singers, you can find the most throaty singer all the way to the most delicate singer.
The most consistent. Yeah. Wow.
my other A's is from 1895. So it was completely rebuilt. Yeah, it's a very beautiful instrument. Yeah, and so I'm always looking for a wonderful piano. I love pianos. So,
This is
yeah.
your middle name, Pianos. I'm telling you. And you also have a Baldwin, I understand.
Yes, but unfortunately, no more. I was able to send it away. So it's my Valvin, it suffered mightily because I think I work on I work on my I did the Diabelli and the hammer clavier and the transcendental etude on that piano. The hammer has been cut in half.
I'm sure it is. Oh my gosh, Eduardus.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I have to ask you,
Yes.
this conversation would not be complete without asking you about your profound relationship with Mr. Schoenberg. I mean, what was
No.
he really like a father to you? Did
Oh,
he
yeah.
assume that kind of position in your life?
Mr. Schomburg was yeah, it was like a surrogate father to me.
Yeah.
And you know, and it all came about because also he had retired from the Times, so there was like a sense of conflict interest is no longer there. You know, he was a cultural correspondent, so he was not in the position and whatnot. And he really was not. I'm speaking rather freely now, and in the sense that um, it was Harold Schoenberg is when I mentioned to how great Verkushny and Horowitz and Gorodnitsky is, how influential they are. But it was, I must say, I must credit to Mr. Schoenberg is the one who literally nurtured me all the way throughout from 84 all the way. And to really have a sense, you know, when disappointment come my way, you know, he would be the one that, you know, Eduardus, it's okay. You know, people sometimes it's misunderstood. Some, you know, but it's okay. But not only just misunderstood. Sometimes I did it on my own that I didn't do well because it's on my own account. But there's a sense of that what you are doing, it's okay, it's fine. It's sometimes it's not always easily understood, but it's okay. Keep going. It's that I think to have a sense of because you know I think the hardest thing for being an artist, I think, is the vulnerability of always self-doubt. I think
Yes.
doubt is always with me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but on the bigger picture, I never doubted. But on a lot of occasion, doubt is always part of learning. So
Yes.
Schomburg was always there. And he was beyond generous to me, and I must say that he extended and Helen Schomburg, you know, until both of them passed away. It was through them I learned greatly about the romantic pianism, because he was the one who is an author of the great pianist, and he's also in many ways also his influence was so apparent. But I must tell you, this one is also not only to me, maestro as well. But when I would come to lesson, Mr. Schomburg and Wanda would occasionally put an article of what Mr. Schomburg wrote, and it went,
Ah.
yeah, because there was a kind of such, Horowitz would tell me, Schomburg was right. Schomburg was right. And it's a kind of sort of because Schomburg is not didactic.
Mm-hmm.
And he, when he loved that he understand. I think there was a deep passion for pianists and also for singers. It's I own his his world record what you call review that was on the Guinness Book of Record when he reviewed Beverly Hills at the Met. And
Yes.
it was like the fastest review done in I think record time in 60 minutes to press, from the concert to press. So
Wow.
I still have that.
Wow.
Yeah. But there's a kind of that. And Schoenberg is a no-nonsense guy. He tells you, he tells you, there's something about the understanding of he was also a pianist, but not in the sense of pianist of but the passion for understanding. And how he said, he would mention to me, a lot of time pianists, they don't have they over pedaled the usage of pedal, and then sometimes lack of left hand. And it's pretty much what maestro tells me too. it, it is. It was a kind of he,
A
of course.
mirror.
Yeah, it's of course, because, and also his experience with growing up with Joseph Hoffman, the greatest pianist.
Yes.
Wait, talking about Hoffman also, there's this is just another wonderful development. I recently went to the screening for Joseph Hoffman by Gregor Benko, also another one of the finest author, and Schoenberg, who referred to Gregor as being he knows much more than I do. That's the way Schoenberg mentioned to Gregor. I mean, Gregor passion for piano and then the recordings, and he studied the IPAM at Maryland, and it was so he brought the screening of Joseph Hoffman. What, it's incredible. That's Hoffman is not. And then talking about all this thing you're talking about, Rachmaninoff, of Hoffman and Joseph Levine,
Yes.
Levine. I have that picture here. This is Sasha of Levine, and that's
incredible.
Yeah, and that's Sasha Goraninsky's teacher and Levine, and so they all had this color history, and Schoenberg understood. And then if I want to read anything about them in Schoenberg's word, is the most accurate description of who they are and what is they are about, and so that kind of understanding really extraordinary. But in many ways, but it was really the closeness to Schoenberg. He would invite me quite both of us to spend. We spent quite a bit of time in Shelter Islands, for summer, and in his apartment, and then I was introduced in so many different many things I learned from.
What a fantastic life you have had.
I did.
It's extraordinary.
Yes, I do. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I just want to read something here. This you're recording presenting Eduardus Halim, a program of piano transcriptions, because we're talking about transcriptions. You released that on the Arabesque label. It thrilled the critics. In fact, they made mention of the fact that if we miss the playing of Horowitz, then it would be advisable to embrace Eduardus Halim as not the disciple, but as the successor to Horowitz's greatness. Now, this is a mammoth thing. This is a commanding phrase. I want to know the downside of that. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to be, deemed as the maestro's successor. But was there a negative side to that, Eduardus, for you?
In the beginning, after I worked with this maestro, and then I started also embarking the beginning of my career, it was difficult and difficult, but it was difficult not on personal level. It doesn't bother me, but the difficulty was the comparison. It's like it's not the comparison anymore. A lot of time critics don't even listen to what I have to offer, and it simply just they think, oh, that's Horowitz. So it was too simple. But to these days, we media doesn't have that much time to we get a soundbite. To me, it's a complete soundbite to me, and it was like but it didn't even hear what I had to offer, but thankfully. That was dissipated and with everything else, it dissipated. And finally, when they start questioning why I'm still playing, so then they so it's sort of that way. Sort of, you must be good. But I don't know. But sometimes it is the drawback. In fact, maestro too said, it was a very very interesting one. I said, he lent me his piano for the Y, the one that piano that went to Moscow, when he concert. So say, Halim, would you like to use my piano? I said, oh, are you kidding me? Of course. But I warn you that hole is too big. Of course, but I don't care. Because the piano is explosive. But how can you say no to such the chance to play
exactly.
on? So I played it, but to which before the playing, I said, I didn't never ask anything. I don't ask for maestro. I actually in general I just don't ask. Things are given. Meaning, if you ask, something is wrong. And so, but however, in here, Maestro said, oh, Halim, I'm not coming to your concert. I said, oh, of course I understand. No, 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 no. I said, if I come to your concerts, I'll be sitting there and everyone will be looking at me and see what my reaction is. No one will listen to you. And so that kind of, and then Wanda also told me, Maestro's name is not always necessarily good for you. It was all in the beginning of everything. It was all very, very, but in the end, it was the legacy of learning and the understanding what his historical pianist he was, that I was able to be part of it. And I think those are transcends all this. In the end, you can beyond grateful. It's a sense of in order for me to be able to learn and how to speak through the instrument and then understanding the instrument. I think this is also important. I think it's in the bigger picture. I think, yeah, but it was interesting. It's always been like that. So, but
that's what I love about you, Eduardus. That's what I love about you. These stories are extraordinary, Eduardus. Really, I'm so thankful for you taking the time to share, because this is your legacy now. And what you were doing in your own teaching, I know the kind of teacher you are. I also know the kind of family man you are. And how has having children affected your life and career?
I think greatly, I must say. Not in the conventional way of like maybe conventional. I meant it. A lot of time. To me, having my boys, it was a life-changing. Having Judy is a life-changing. So it's sort of like a unity. It's a unit. I feel like when I'm home, I can and I know everyone will forgive me, and everyone will learn to be very supportive of me with unconditionally. I think in that sense, a career, so the pressure of everything else is becoming not non-eventful. Of course, I'm not saying that I didn't have stress. That's not what I want to say, but it's a sense of peace and comfort to be able to work. So in that sense, to me, that actually more enhancing rather than I'm not the type of say, oh my God, everyone has to stop just because. No, I think it is part of life, and it's I felt very in a sense, I felt it is shaping who I am. So everything is shaping whatever the circumstances is. So it's not so necessarily a planned things, but it's what makes me. So I think in many ways, I just heard the adage of saying sometimes what one perceive as imperfection is an actual perfection.
Yes.
And it's really very true. And also in music, it's very applicable to music, because music is about life, not about not making mistake. So if it is about life, there's life always making mistake, part of making mistake, but you move on and you do something about it. But music is the same. But so to be worried about sometimes, not to change, but sometimes that, oh, I want to play perfect concert. There's no such a thing.
No, there's not.
For me. But on the other hand, I must tell you though, I've heard some really incredible pianists who can play so amazingly perfect. That is also a blessing for me. I love to hear it, and but just, I don't think that's not that's not easy to do. But when it's done, well, no, absolutely. Yeah. I'm back. But to me, I would like to be like having a perfection without the constantly trying.
Yes.
Who a part of speaking, and if that's okay. Yeah, but
it's so true. I always say there's great beauty in imperfection. There are so many voices that are imperfect. You're just starting a sound. There can be a sense of a gutturalness or a raspiness that is part of their personal situation in life, and that is not perfect, but it is real.
No, no, absolutely. So sometimes, to play beautiful only just for the sake of beautiful, that's also not good, because it doesn't say,
Right.
it's just maybe like the saying that, you're surrounded by beautiful stuff and it means it's meaningless, but you have to be surrounded by something less beautiful to be beautiful. And it's a kind of the contrasting side, I think.
It's a
It's
paradox.
it's
It's
a
always a
paradox.
paradox, and music and art it's based on that, and I think that's the sublime beauty. But
Of course, of
oh,
course.
Eduardus.
Yeah. Sometimes thinking about thinking of Chopin in particular suffered mightily from being, oh my God, lovely. Isn't that? I mean, it was like nothing lovely about Chopin. It's the deadliest things. When I hear that, oh my God, it's so beautiful and so lovely, I almost die.
Yeah, exactly. I remember the night coming to hear you do both books of the Chopin etudes in one night. I will never forget that. And
Oh
you
my
made it
God.
look so easy, so easy. And so few pianists can actually achieve that. So I do remember you shaking your right arm out at one point as if to relax, but never mind.
My arm was leaving my body.
Eduardus, I've got to ask you, how do you decompress? What do you do for fun? And it's not fair to say going to your music. What
Oh,
do you
definitely.
do for fun?
I love so many things. I do so many things that is non uh, non pianistic, and in many ways it's quite horrifying if people know what I do. But I love gardening, for instance. I actually I don't
Beautiful.
I love gardening. It's not like I hire a gardener. I like to actually myself dig, removing things, and then moving boulder, moving this, moving that. I just Those are something very physical for me, and I found it accomplishment to see something. Anything else is easier than music, because I could get a instant gratification, but in music,
Exactly.
yeah. And so I found that one is kind of very relaxing, in a very strange, but also actually I'm very physically also I'm happy to be, as you can tell, I'm darker and darker and darker because of summer. I love the
But
sun too
that's
much.
lovely.
I,
Oh,
I thank
that's
you.
that's
But
another art form.
yeah.
Another art form.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And so
Well,
I do all kind of things. I'm interested in so many things in architecture and structural engineering and whatnot. What I need to see and how things are done, and it seems
and
to
we
be
are all richer for it through your music making and teaching. I can tell you that because you were always evolving. Listen, I have to ask you one more question. You've been so
Cool.
generous with your time.
Yes,
I
yes,
so appreciate it. But one last question I ask of everyone.
yeah.
If there is one word or phrase that would describe you to our listeners right from your heart, what would it be?
I would, I would say, I want to say something in through my music.
Yeah,
I think that's maybe the most, and after all, that's the only thing I live for, to be able to say something.
I'm telling you, we're the lucky beneficiaries of that.
So do I. So do I. It's the happiest profession, being a musician.
And we
And
can see it on your face, Eduardus.
yeah,
Listen, I have to thank you for being with me on Center Stage. This has been truly remarkable. You are truly stupendous.
I
Um,
thank you. That's very generous of you, Pam. Really, what a pleasure it is talking to you. And I thank you so much for letting me indulge myself in such a way.
oh, we are so fortunate to let you be indulged and with your generosity gracing us with so many stories and your lovely personality. Thank you so much, Eduardus. And to all my listeners out there, I want you to go to eduardushalim.com for more information about him. I'm telling you now, you will be blown away. The stories, the reviews, the articles, and all of his recordings. And once again, Eduardus, you are a prince amongst men. You are.
Oh my God! Thank you very much, Pam.
Thank you. Thank you
What a
for your
pleasure!
gift of
What a
music.
pleasure!
All
Yeah,
right. We'll do it again sometime, and then we'll talk about Javanese dancing. I promise
for
you.
sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye, Pam.
All right, everyone. I want to thank all my listeners today. And for more information on Eduardus, eduardushalim.com. And if you would like to go to my website, centerstagewithpamelakuhn.com, you will find more shows like this and the ability to support the arts by doing so, which is always a wonderful thing. It takes us out of the chaos of the world. So thanks again, Eduardus. Everyone, stay safe out there. This is
Thank
Pamela Kuhn, and the curtain is now down on Center Stage.